Namaste. I'm going to read Book 3, Chapter 15 on the battle between Yudhijit and Virasena. Om Vakratana Mahakaya Surya Koti Vyasa said, O king, when the war was declared, the two kings, excited by greed and anger, took up arms, and a dreadful encounter ensued. On one side, the king Yudhijit, of long arms, surrounded by his own army with bows and arrows, came ready to fight. On the other hand, the fairy Virasena, the second god of the Devas, appeared in the battle, following a true Kshatriya custom, on behalf his daughter's son. Then the truthful king Virasena, seeing Yudhijit in battle, became very angry and hurled arrows on him, as a cloud rains on the mountain tops. On being covered, as it were, by the sharp and swift arrows sharpened on the stone slab hurled at him by Virasena, Yudhijit too quickly shot arrows at Virasena and cut off all his arrows. O king, a dreadful fight then ensued between the cavalries, the warriors on the elephants, and the Devas. Men and Munis began to witness this terrible battle with wonder and astonishment. Birds, vultures, and crows, desirous to eat the flesh of the dead soldiers, flew in the air. Blood of elephants, horses, and warriors, the bodies that lay dead, flowed in torrents awfully like rivers in that deadly battleground. The torrent of blood excited fear amongst those who came to see it, as the river Vaitarani on the way to hell. The Lord of Death is very fearful to the sinners. The human skulls were driven ashore by the current, and they looked like so many hollow shells of gourds scattered there with the play of the boys on the banks of the Jamuna. When all warrior lay dead on the field, the vultures began to fly about in the air for devouring his flesh. It seems then that the soul of the warrior, beholding his beautiful body, tried to re-enter into his body, though he thought that he had become very inaccessible to him. Some warriors, on being slain in the battle, instantly arose in a celestial car to the heavens, and was seen addressing the celestial nymph, who came already within his embrace. Thus, O one of beautiful thighs, behold how many beautiful body is lying on the earth below. Another warrior, thus slain, got up in the heavens on a celestial car, came in possession of a celestial nymph, and when he was sitting with her in the car, his former wife in the earth made herself a sati and burnt herself up in the funeral pyre, thus got a celestial body, came up to the heavens, and that chaste, virtuous woman drew away perforce her own husband away from that celestial nymph. Two warriors went up, slew each other, and lay down dead at the same time. They went up in the heavens at the same time, and there began quarrel with each other, and fight with their weapons for one and the same celestial nymph. Some hero got in the heavens a nymph more lovely and beautiful than himself, and he thus became very much attached and devoted her. He began to describe his own erotic qualities, and also to copy dotedly the qualities of his lover, so that he might remain faithfully attached to him, so that she might remain faithfully attached to him. The dust arising from the dreadful encounter of the soldiers in the battlefield rose up in the air and covered the sun. It appeared night. After a while, that dust became absorbed in the blood below, and the sun appeared very red, reflected with the color of the blood. Some brahmachari fought in the battle and was slain. He went up to the heavens. Instantly, a lovely-eyed Devakanya, a celestial nymph, desired to select him as bridegroom with great devotion. But that clever man did not accept the offer, thinking that his vow of brahmacharya would thus be broken. O king, thus, when the battle was deadly, the king Yudhijit shot a sharp, dreadful arrow at Vidasena and severed his head from body. Vidasena lay dead on the battlefield, and his army was routed. The soldiers fled away from the battle. Hearing that her father was slain in the battle, Manorama became very terrified and anxious. She then began to think that the vicious, wicked king Yudhijit will surely slay her son for kingdom's sake and to satisfy his enmity with her father. What shall I do now? My father is slain in the battle. My husband is no more. My child is a minor today. Where shall I go? Greed is very sinful. Who is there that cannot be bought over by love of gold? And what vicious act can there be that cannot be done when actuated by covetousness? A greedy man does not hesitate to kill his father, mother, spiritual guide, friends, and others. There is no doubt in this. It is the inordinate love of worldly things that makes a man eat what is held unclean in society, that makes a man approach a woman who is unapproachable, and it is greed that makes a man discard his own religion and become an apostate. It is in this city I find none so powerful as I can remain there under his shelter and be able to rear up my child. What can I do? What can I do if the king Yudhijit slay my son? There is none in this world who can save me, and counting on whose shelter I can stay here without any anxiety. And this my co-rival wife, Lilavati, will always practice enmity with me. She will never show mercy on my son. When Yudhijit will arrive in the city, I will never be able to go out of it, and he will today put my son in the prison on the pretext that he is a minor. I heard that in days of yore, Indra entered into the womb of his pregnant stepmother with a small thunderbolt in his hand and divided the fetus into 7 parts with that weapon. Again, each of these 7 into 7 parts again. Thus the 49 Maruts were born in the heavens. I heard also that in ancient times one queen gave poison to destroy the fetus in the womb of her rival wife. When the child came out of the womb, he was celebrated by the name of Sagara, with poison in this earth. The husband was alive, and still his queen Kaikeyi banished the eldest son of his king, Sri Ramachandra, to the forest, and the king Dasaratha sacrificed his life for that very reason. The ministers no doubt wanted before to install my son as the king, but now they are not independent. They have now yielded themselves to the king Yudhijit. There is no brother of mine powerful enough to release me from my bondage. I see I have fallen into a great difficulty by the combination of unforeseen circumstances. Though the success depends on faith, still one should make an earnest effort. If one does not make any effort, fate also remains asleep. I will therefore soon make out a plan to save my son. O king, thinking thus, that woman, Manorama, called in private the best and very respectable minister Vidala, who was intelligent and expert in everything, and holding the hands of her son and weeping, said humbly in a depressed spirit, O minister, my father is slain in the battlefield. This my son is a minor, and Yudhijit is a very powerful king. Consider all these and tell me what I should do now. The venerable minister Vidala then said to the queen Manorama, It is never advisable for us to stay here. Soon we will go into the forest of Banaras. Then there I have got my powerful uncle Subahu. He is prosperous and has got a strong army. He will protect us. I will make the pretext that I am become very anxious for the king, and therefore I am going out to see the king Yudhijit, and will go out of the city in my chariot. There is no doubt in this. Hearing thus the Vidala's words, the Queen Manorama went to Lilavati and said, O fair-eyed, today I am going to see the father Yudhijit. Thus saying, she went out of the city in a chariot, accompanied by her son, attendants, and Vidala. Grieved at loss of her father, fearful, distress, and fatigue, Manorama saw Yudhijit and performed the cremation of her father Virasena. And trembling with fear, got to the banks of the Ganges after 2 days' swift journey. There the robbers, the Nisadas, plundered all their riches and took the chariot and went away. Manorama had only her clothing that she wore left to her. She began to weep, and holding the hands of her attendant, went to the Ganges shore, and being afraid, crossed the river on a raft and went to the Chitrakuta mountain. That terrified Devi went to the hermitage of the Bharadvaja as early as possible. There she saw the ascetics and was relieved of her fear. Bharadvaja asked, O lotus-eyed, who are you and whose wife are you? Why have you taken so much trouble to come here? Answer all these truly. O beautiful one, are you a Devi or human being? Your son is a very minor. Why have you come in this dense forest? It seems as if you are deprived of your kingdom. Thus asked by the best of the Munis, the beautiful Manorama became very much afflicted with grief and began to weep. She could not speak anything herself and ordered Vidala to inform the Muni all and what had happened. Vidala then said, there was a king of Kosala named Dhruvasandi. She is the legal wife of that king. Her name is Manorama. That powerful king of the solar dynasty was killed by a lion in the forest. Thus boy Sudarshana is his son. The father of this Manorama was very religious. He died fighting for the cause of his daughter's son. Now, the present queen has become much afraid and has therefore come to this wild forest. The son of this woman is now a minor. He is now taking your refuge. O best of the Munis, protect them. To give protection to any distressed person is to acquire merits higher than performing a sacrifice. Therefore, to protect one who is very much afflicted with fear and who is helpless will have still higher merits. Bharadvaja said, O beautiful one, remain in this hermitage without any fear. Rear up your son here. O auspicious one, there is no cause of fear here from your enemies. Better nourish and support your child. Your son will surely be a king, and if you remain in this hermitage, no sorrow or grief will overtake you. Vyasa said, when the great Muni Bharadvaja said thus, the Queen Manorama became peaceful. The Muni gave them a cottage to live in, and there they dwelt without any sorrow. Thus Manorama dwelt obediently with her maidservant. Liked by all, Vidala also remained there, and Manorama began to nourish a child. Here ends the 15th chapter on the Devi Mahatmya and the battle between Yudhijit and Virasena, and the going away of Manorama to the forest in the 3rd Adhyaya of Srimad Devi Bhagavatam by Maharishi Ved Vyasa. Om Jayanti Mangala Kali Bhadra Kali Kapali Durga Kashma Shripadani Swaswa. Om. Om Jaya Mata Chapitantu.